What if the key to solving the disappearance of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie was seen weeks before she vanished, and almost no one realized it at the time? A quiet neighbor, getting ready in the morning, noticed a man walking slowly toward Nancy Guthrie's home. His head was down. His baseball cap was pulled low over his face. He kept looking around as if he was checking whether anyone was watching. At the time, it seemed strange, but not alarming. But now, investigators believe that moment could be one of the most important clues in the entire case. And what the neighbor later told investigators has raised a disturbing possibility. Nancy Guthrie may have been watched long before she disappeared. Before we go deeper into this unsettling case, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We cover real investigations and breaking developments in cases just like this, and you won't want to miss the next update as this mystery continues to unfold. The disappearance of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie has shocked communities across Arizona and captured national attention. Nearly 2 months after she vanished from her Tucson home, investigators are still searching for answers. Authorities say Guthrie was reported missing on February 1st. According to investigators, she may have been abducted from her home sometime late at night or during the early morning hours. Since that day, law enforcement agencies have launched an extensive investigation involving local police, federal agents, and hundreds of tips from concerned citizens. But despite the massive search effort, Nancy Guthrie has still not been found. The uncertainty surrounding her disappearance has deeply affected the quiet neighborhood where she lived. Residents describe the community as peaceful and close-knit, the kind of place where neighbors know each other and people often go on evening walks. Nancy Guthrie herself was known to many of the people living nearby. According to neighbors, she remained active and friendly despite her age. Some residents say they would often see her walking around the neighborhood, sometimes stopping to chat with neighbors or enjoy the Arizona sunshine. That is why her sudden disappearance has left many people shocked and confused. Now, a new detail revealed by one of Guthrie's neighbors may provide investigators with an important lead. A woman who lives around the corner from Nancy Guthrie recently spoke with News Nation and described a strange encounter she experienced weeks before Guthrie disappeared. According to the neighbor, the sighting happened sometime around January 11th, nearly 3 weeks before Nancy Guthrie was reported missing. At the time, the woman was simply going about her morning routine. She said she was getting ready for the day when she happened to glance outside and noticed a man walking in the neighborhood. At first glance, nothing about the man seemed immediately alarming. But as she watched him, something about his behavior started to feel unusual. The man appeared to be wearing casual street clothing, but the neighbor said his outfit seemed odd for someone walking through the area. She specifically remembered that he was not wearing shoes that someone would normally wear while going for a walk or exercising. Another detail that stood out to her was the baseball cap he was wearing. The hat was pulled down very low over his face, making it difficult to see his features clearly. From where she was standing, the neighbor said she could not make out his face. But it wasn't just his clothing that caught her attention, it was the way he moved. According to the neighbor, the man appeared to be hunched over slightly as he walked. Instead of walking with confidence or purpose, he seemed cautious and slow. He was not moving at the pace of someone who was exercising or heading somewhere quickly. Instead, he moved slowly through the area, occasionally glancing around as if he was observing his surroundings. The neighbor told News Nation that the man's behavior made her feel uneasy because he simply did not seem to belong in the neighborhood. She explained that people frequently walk through the area, but something about this individual felt different. He just didn't fit, she said, when describing the encounter. One particular moment stood out to her. As the man walked past a nearby street, he suddenly slowed down and stared down the road for an unusually long time. Instead of briefly glancing like a typical passerby, the neighbor said he appeared to carefully study the area. At the time, she did not think much of the incident, but weeks later, when Nancy Guthrie was reported missing, the memory of that moment suddenly became far more concerning. Realizing the sighting could be important, the neighbor contacted authorities and later spoke directly with the FBI. Investigators have since confirmed that January 11th is a date of interest in the case. The FBI has asked residents in the neighborhood to review any footage from security cameras, including Ring doorbell cameras, that may have captured activity on that day. Surveillance footage could potentially help investigators identify the man described by the neighbor. Authorities have not publicly confirmed whether the man she saw is connected to the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. However, investigators are carefully reviewing every detail as they attempt to piece together the timeline leading up to the event. Meanwhile, federal agents have continued their work in the neighborhood. On Thursday, FBI agents were seen investigating a home located directly west of Nancy Guthrie's residence. The activity drew attention from nearby residents, many of whom have been closely following developments in the case. Officials have not revealed exactly what investigators were searching for at the property, but their presence suggests the investigation remains active and ongoing. The search for Nancy Guthrie has now entered its second month. With each passing week, the case has grown more complex. Authorities say several ransom notes have been reported during the investigation, adding another mysterious element to the situation. However, officials have not publicly released the details of those communications. What investigators have confirmed is that Nancy Guthrie's location remains unknown. This has left both investigators and the community desperate for answers. Law enforcement officials say they continue to analyze every piece of evidence they receive. Witness statements, digital data, surveillance footage, and forensic evidence are all being reviewed as investigators attempt to determine what happened. In cases like this, investigators say even the smallest piece of information can become critical. A brief sighting, a passing vehicle, or a camera recording that seems insignificant could ultimately help solve the mystery. That is why authorities are continuing to urge the public to come forward with any information they may have. Even if a detail seems small or unimportant, investigators say it could still help them build a clearer picture of what happened. For residents in the neighborhood, the disappearance has created a sense of unease. Many say they now wonder whether someone may have been watching the area long before Nancy Guthrie vanished. The neighbor who reported seeing the suspicious man says she continues to think about that moment. Looking back, she believes the man's behavior suggested he might have been observing the neighborhood. If that is the case, it could mean Nancy Guthrie's disappearance was not random. Instead, investigators may be dealing with someone who carefully planned the crime. Authorities have not identified any suspects publicly, and many questions remain unanswered. But the investigation continues. Law enforcement officials say they are determined to follow every possible lead until they uncover the truth. For now, the mysterious sighting reported by the neighbor remains one of the most intriguing pieces of information in the case. If investigators are able to identify the man seen walking toward Nancy Guthrie's home that morning, it could bring them one step closer to solving the mystery. Until then, the search for Nancy Guthrie continues, and the question still remains: who was the mysterious man walking toward her home weeks before she disappeared? Do you think the man seen by the neighbor could be connected to Nancy Guthrie's disappearance? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you want to stay updated on this case and other real investigations like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update as this story continues to develop.